Hey y'all, this is my first episode. Just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about my situation and growing up and all the accidents in my life. In 1971, I got my foot caught in a rototiller out hustling the neighborhood and almost chopped my foot off. It was barely hanging by a just piece of skin and half of my Achilles tendon. I lost a ton of blood. Almost bought the farm on that one. I when I got to the hospital, I received a couple of units of blood. I didn't know then that it was tainted, but eventually I found out. But what a ride that was! My introduction to opiates at the age of 11. Um, in the hospital for months. Surgery after surgery after surgery. I was so strung out. I had a ruthless mom, by the book mom. And if the prescription bottle said 1 to 2 tablets every 2 to 4 hours, that meant I got 1 tablet every 4 hours. And the pain was excruciating, as you can imagine. You're a little kid and you have your foot cut off. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And then to have a mom that wouldn't give you any kind of pain control. It was a psychological mind fuck. It was just like crazy. How do you even deal with this at 11 years old, and you're constantly in pain, and you only get your mom's attention because you're shut in a room when you're just screaming your head off. And so my brothers and sisters got tired of hearing that. My older brother one day loaded me up in my wheelchair and drugged me out to the garage and gave me a joint and said, "Here, light this up." Boy, game changer. You know, um, it was instant. Even though it was crappy weed, full of seeds, seeds burning in the joint, because it wasn't cleaned properly or whatever. It was just shitty weed. And but that being said, what a difference it made. I went in, back in my room, got sleep. Mom comes in, ready for your pain pill. I didn't even want it, but I couldn't give myself up, so I had to take it. But I couldn't, it was motivation for me to get up and get out of that fucking room, so I could go find some more of this stuff. I remember smelling it at the park with some people smoking it. I had no idea what it was. I just smelt it. I remember smelling that smell before at our local park. And so I knew if I could get out of this room, I could get down to the park and get some more of that stuff because I liked the way it made me feel. And so I went through years and years and years and years of opiate addiction, but at the same time, using cannabis as a young kid. And sneaking around, about the same time I got introduced to cannabis, I also got introduced to cheap cologne because of, my ruthless mom. I couldn't go home and be smelling like weed. And so, yeah, the little pick and save market down in our local plaza had a 3-pack of Old English, English leather is what it was, I think. Had a little wooden top, 79 cents at the pick and save, a little sampler box. But, it was just crazy. But it was, it's the minute I'd get over something, it was back to the hospital for a corrective surgery. Plate, wires, screws, this, that, circulation. It was just one thing right after another. And so my childhood sucked, just because I don't remember a lot of it because of the drugs. Um, but fast forward into 2002, we'd had a party at our house, and a friend of ours' wife isn't a very good cook, and she brought some chicken. Well, right after that party, we left for Reno to a tattoo convention, and I got sick there. And when I got home, I was just deathly sick. I thought I had like salmonella poisoning or something like that. Um, Turns out, back in 1971, when I got that blood transfusion, I'd got tainted blood, and it got two rare blood diseases. One is called catastrophic antiphosphotic lipid syndrome, and the other one is called cryoglobulinemia. And they're super, super, super rare, you know. And back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and maybe into the 80s, you used to be able to sell your blood at the blood bank, you know. And so I remember as a kid going by the blood bank and having questions for my parents. Why are all these people out front? You know, what's up? You know, there's a big crowd, people hanging out on the side. You know, well, back then you could just, you know, if you were an alcoholic or, you know, having problems, you know, housing situation, homeless, whatever it was, that's how they got their money, I guess, selling their plasma, and that's how I got the tainted blood. Nowadays, probably be impossible for anyone to get anything tainted. But back then, it was just like craziness, you know. I mean, that's why everyone right now has to, you know, they always see all the commercials, go get tested for Hep C, because anyone who received blood received shots, you know, maybe in school, got your inoculations with that gun, you know, where they just come by and had the vials hanging off of it. And you had the one nurse who wipe your arm with alcohol swab, the next one go hit you with that gun, and the next one put a band-aid on you, and off you went, you know, sniveling. You know, they never changed the needles in those guns, you know. They just until they quit working or whatever. I mean, I don't know how it worked, but you know, I just can't imagine how many people they infected not knowing, you know, that you shouldn't do that crap, you know. And but you know, reusing stuff, not sterilizing. Way back then, they had autoclaves in the office, you know, the doctor's office. When you went in to get a procedure done at the office, they just pull them right out of their autoclave, you know. I mean, the hemostats and sutures and crap like that, you know. And so a lot of people, you know, nowadays are sick because of that. You know, a lot of people's livers are shot, you know, crazy stuff. But, you know, now they have a cure for the thing that they gave you, which is about $80,000 treatment, you know. But keep in mind, they gave you that, you know, they gave you that disease. And now they want to charge you, these pharmaceutical companies, to cure you, you know, for something they gave you. It's not, you know, something, you know, you did, it's something they did. But they want to charge you, like, big bucks for it, you know, which is absolutely crazy. And, excuse me, take a little rip here. It's insane the way the medical system works. When I found out that I'd got tainted blood, like I said, I was sick and ended up in the hospital, our little local hospital, because I live in the mountains in a rural area. Excuse me one second. Excuse me. Our little local area hospital diagnosed me with a perforated bowel. Said that I had some free air in my belly and that they were going to take me to surgery. Well, I was crazy in pain, and they never ended up taking me to surgery. They ended up eventually, about a week later, a week and a half later, kicking me out of the hospital because I was so violently in pain. They hadn't done anything to address my situation. And so I got home, and I was home less than maybe 12, 14 hours, and went to a different hospital. And they died right there. They told me that I had a perforated bowel. They were going to try to get my infection a little bit under control, and I was going to be getting some surgery. The infection never got under control. My intestines ended up just exploding, just pretty much just shredding. I had 9.5 feet of gangrene bowel and colon, and so I lost most of my colon, all but 3 centimeters, and most of my bowels, and that was the start of this in 2002, and I've been fighting ever since. Just been touch and go. In my whole life, it's just crazy to think back. I've been on life support like 3 or 4 times in my life. And that's just nuts. Most people are never even on it once. And I've been on it like 3 or 4 times. Probably had over 500 X-rays, CAT scans. I'm surprised I'm not glowing, just with radiation. And back then, the X-rays weren't all that good. The technology would load you up with radiation. And so, it's just I'm amazed that I'm still alive and being able to talk about this. But cannabis got me through my childhood. It helped me. It wasn't a mainstay, it wasn't something that, okay, hey, this is going to be my main pain control, because I just kind of got over it, and always dealt with it. Just, it's been constant my whole life. I just wish back then, instead of the doctors trying to be heroes and, save the day, that they just would have amputated my foot back then in 1971. I would have grown up with a prosthetic. I'd have been very proficient, probably. I would assume, it was only a foot, and, but they saved it, and it caused me nothing but trouble my whole life, until I was 42 or 43 when I got sick. And then after I lost the bowels and colon, they scooped all my stuff up and they sent it off to the Stanford pathology lab. And that's when they traced down that I got tainted blood. And I had a bunch of little blood clots. And then because I had all the gangrene, it went to that old injury in my foot. And then I got a thing called osteomyelitis. It's an infection in your bone. And they put me on all these heavy drugs. Keep in mind, I'm already sick. Just lost my bowels and colon. Just sicker than shit. I've got 2 rare blood diseases. I'm sick. Just lost my bowels and colon. And now my foot, and I get this infection in my foot that starts eating my bone up, and the pain was excruciating, and they put me on a bunch of heavy duty drugs, nafacillin pump, just all these drugs that just made you sick, immunosuppressant drugs for infections, and I was already on infusions for the excuse me, for the catastrophic antiphosphatic lipid syndrome and the cryoglobulinemia. And so, while they're trying to get that under control, I got this infection raging in my leg, and they finally ended up cutting my foot off and my leg below the knee. Well, at this time I'm older, man, and so it's a lot fucking harder to get a grip on this shit. And I was sick, I'm fighting, and strung out, man, strung out. They had me on drugs that no human should be on, you know. I mean, but with the pain tolerance that I had, because growing up, you know, with the traumas that I'd been through as a kid, my pain tolerance was exceedingly high. So they didn't even know how to deal with it, you know. I mean, it was kind of, hey, read this pamphlet, and behind my back they'd be injecting me with drugs, and then if I started moving the pamphlet around a little bit and couldn't read, they'd quit giving them to me. I mean, that's how they had to do it. You know, there was no, I was over any federal limit, you know, that they should put anyone on. I mean, it's fentanyl, it's Dilaudid, it's the morphine. And now, keep in mind, my guts are gone, so everything I have to take is liquid. And just fast acting, you know, the fentanyl patches to the, you know, Dilaudid injections to all the liquid medications. And it was just making me sicker and sicker and sicker, you know. And I always had the flashbacks to my childhood that, God, the weed, man, you know. And my pain control doctor finally brought it up with me and said that we should get with your oncologist and come up with a plan to get you off these drugs. Not that they were going to send me to rehab, not that they were going to this or going to that. You know, that was never going to happen. And so we started talking weed, and this is when Oakland was just getting fired up. You know, they were just getting going. They had Oaksterdam back then, and you had to have a separate little, you know, it was just a big money grab to me. Every club you had to pay to be a member of. You had to pay for their ID. You know, you had to have this ID, you had to have that ID, and everything cost you money. You know, when you're sick, it fucking sucks that everyone's just trying to fucking get in your pockets. And so I ran back and forth to Oakland, 2-hour drive, you know, to get weed, you know, good pot, you know, legal weed back then. And the county I lived in, Amador County, right wing, no weed. We're not even talking that. Well, I'm sick. I have kids. I can't lose my kids, you know, because I need to use cannabis. You know, I had to confront that head on. You know, I wasn't going to put my family in jeopardy. I wasn't going to risk them busting through my door at any given minute and, you know, taking everything or seizing my house or this, whatever. I wasn't going to do that. So I decided I'd do a preemptive strike and go to a county meeting, and everyone has a chance to talk. So I got up and brought the conversation up. I was barely alive at that point, and told them this is what I needed. You know, this is what the doctors were saying I needed. This has been the law, and it's been the law for a long time. And why aren't you guys adhering to the law? Why is no one even saying, hey, this stuff is amazing, you know, hey, quit being a junkie and use cannabis, you know? No one's saying that. No one is saying that, especially no county official. And I just didn't understand why everyone wasn't just, you know, shouting this crap from the rooftops, you know, that, hey, you cannot be a junkie and just use cannabis, you know, for the drugs that cannabis has replaced in my life. Appetite stimulant, because I have no bowels and colon. Sleep aid, because of all the pain I'm in. Pain control, you know, it's psychological, you know, everything. You know, I just can't imagine where I'd be if I didn't have it, you know. But anyways, sorry, I'm going to skip around. I'm not very good at this. This is the first time I've done this. I'm very new. I'm hoping that eventually, through a few more episodes, that some people will have some questions that will want to say, hey, man, how did this happen? How did that happen? Because, look, there are holes in life, man. You step in one at any given moment, you know, and your life changes. It's nothing due to you. You know, I mean, it just shit happens. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in this downtrodden frame of mind, a semi, I guess, opiate addiction, because they really don't believe let you get addicted anymore. I'm not for sure. But, you know, you're having to take drugs that are psychologically affecting you, when if you would just expand, if you have never tried cannabis, try it. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. No one's ever died from it. So, you know, if it's not your cup of tea, okay, hey, at least you tried. But to not try it is, you know, I just find ridiculous. Anyone I've ever met, talked to, I've always told them, give it a try, man. You know, I don't know how many times I've sat in that cancer infusion center. You have to sit there for hours getting your infusion, and you're in a room with other people, you know, 4 or 5 other people getting infusions like you, and so you have an opportunity to talk to people. And my outlook was always fairly positive while I was laying there, you know, taking this poison, while everyone else kind of looked a little down and sick. And I tried to always bring a little something to the room, pop some jokes, you know, whatever, you know, and a few times they'd say, boy, you're awful happy. Well, yeah, I used some cannabis before I came in here, you know, and then that would get the conversation started, and then pretty soon the whole room would be involved in it. And then, you know, they would go out and try it, and then I'd see them in there the next week, and hey, thanks a lot, man, God, I feel so much better. They looked better too, you know, more color, you know, better attitude, a little peppier, even though sick. You know, you're sick. It's just like, you know, it sucks being sick, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, you have to make the best of the situation. You know, I mean, what's the opposite? You sit around and you just be down all day, man. There's no future in that. I'm telling you right now, there is no future in just sitting around being bummed out. You know, if you're gonna sit around, be positive. You know, don't sit around being bummed out. You know, everyone's got issues. You know, you just have to push through, and don't ever give up. You know, it's just one of those things you have to do. You know, no matter what. You know, if you're on the infusions, if you're chemo, if you're, you know, just coming off of it, if whatever, try cannabis. Try cannabis, try cannabis, try cannabis. Can't say it enough. You know, you will feel better mentally right away, within seconds. I'm telling you, within seconds, you'll feel better. You know, I mean, I know a lot of people who use it for pain control. They use it for sleep. They use it for attitude, PTSD, for this, for that, for another. It saves lives. I'm telling you, it saves lives. And then we have a government that just wants to shut this shit down, man. You know, and that's crazy. Well, back to the Amador thing. That's how I became patient number 24 in the state to get an ID card in the state of California for medical cannabis. Is by the preemptive strike and my advocacy for my own health at in Amador County. The head of the health department, Tracy Russels, became the co-chair of the state ID program because she saw I was right. The law didn't say every county, hey, whenever you feel like it, just go ahead and make an ID program. No. The law said every county must establish and maintain an identification program. That doesn't say whenever the fuck you want. Just do it. No. That law wasn't made by me. Understand this. That was my exact point at the council meeting. I didn't make this law. I just am trying to abide by it. That's all. And you guys are making it awful hard for a citizen to abide by a law. You know, which was ridiculous to me. But Tracy Russell, she saw the irony in all of it. And so she told me after the meeting, I'm going to make sure we can get you this ID card. And so some months went by. and the program kicked off, and I believe it's still going. But the price of it's a money grab again, with the taxes on cannabis and the this and the that and the everything else that they want to do. It's just everyone's stuff in their pockets. Growers know this, processors know this, distributors know this, everyone knows it, man. You're just getting raked over the coals just to be in the business. It's just absolutely stupid. No one rakes the tomato vendor over the coals. The tomato farmer picks his tomatoes, takes them to market. They're not getting taxed. They don't have to jump through regulations. They don't have to do any of that stuff. I can't believe they're not taxing the sun for our vitamin D. It's just absolutely ridiculous where the government takes stuff, and the hypocrisy of everything, it's a plant. Grows in the dirt, came from the earth, and then you want to take control of it, If you want to take control of something, take control of the forest fires, Leave the cannabis alone. Leave the cannabis farmers alone. Leave the people who use it alone. Quit arresting people. Every state where it's not legal, legalize it, Make it available to anyone who could benefit from it. That's what it should be. Anyone should be able to get this. I mean anyone. Not just CBD, not just CBN, not just this, not just that, but anything. If it benefits you and it does no harm to anyone else, why is that a problem? Someone please tell me that. Why is that a problem? Why is it a big problem that a plant that grows out of the ground has to be regulated so heavily? It's just nuts. But if you think back, all the opium wars, in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, those people, that's how they make their living. Unfortunately, that's what they have to do, But it's still, opium, it comes to market somehow, whether it's in United States market, legally through a pharmaceutical company, synthetic through a pharmaceutical company. It's all the same. It's still an addictive, horrendous drug. It's just crazy. I know it's an evil necessity. I've had to use it myself, so I know this. But it's just crazy that they'll condone that and villainize cannabis. You just have to wonder what the fuck's going on around here. It saved my life. I'm sitting here right now talking and, chatting it up because of cannabis. No doubt, 100%. I don't use anything. I recently had a 10.5-hour surgery. Had to go back and forth to the operating room a few times for this fistula right here on my arm. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here on my arm. And as soon as I was coherent enough to tell them, quit giving me drugs, man, I don't want any more. They shanghaied my wife and got her on their side to give me a couple of shots when I was in the recovery room, but I didn't want them. I was trying to decline them, but they recruited her to talk me into it. But as soon as I got to my room, popped a couple of cannabis tablets, hit the bathroom and hit my vape pen, got a few hours sleep, and I never even took an aspirin while I was in the hospital. So it can be done. Cannabis is an amazing drug. Plant, but it replaces so many drugs. I use it like that. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't say it's a drug. It's really not. It's a life stimulant, maybe. Maybe that's what we should call that, because it brightens everything for me. The colors are brighter, mental attitude's better. Everything is awesome, man. And anyways, it's been a half hour. I've rambled on long enough. Next time I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it live next time. And that way if someone has a question, we can chat back and forth a little bit. And the ride gets crazier. So much more stuff has happened. I'm just going to leave it there. And I want you all to stay amazing. Go out. Have a blessed day. Be positive. And whatever you do, please love freely. Stay safe. Bye.